This is Bill Sang, the author of the Giganotus Rex series. You can find links to purchase the Giganotus Rex books at williamhsang.com, and Sang is Seng. Or you can go to amazon.com. You can find books there. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Enjoy the show. We are talking about the OG, whatever that means. What does OG mean? I want to say it's like either old gangster or original gangster or old guy, maybe, of the Giganotus Rex series. Before there was a book, before there was a manuscript, there was Ophion, Form 2. And I say Form 2 because Ophion is a unique creature. And you're going to be learning about him today on the Giganotus Rex podcast, as he is the nemesis, the arch enemy of Giganotus Rex throughout the series. And to talk about him today, I got two special guests. I got Jaden.
Hello.
And Carter.
Hello.
Guys, I appreciate you joining me to talk about this today, as Ophion is just an interesting creature. In fact, I got his name from, I believe, Greek mythology, and it's in reference to a serpent from a long time ago that I thought was very, very reminiscent of the serpent of the Garden of Eden. And so I was very fascinated by that. And I thought, when I was trying to figure out a name for the nemesis of Giganotus Rex, I thought to myself, you know what? Ophion sounds good. That sounds weird. It sounds scary. It almost sounds cultic even. And I was like, if Giganotus Rex is supposed to teach us about God and is a kind of representation of purity and goodness and how good conquers evil, then his nemesis has to be something serpentine, even though one of the secrets about that, I don't really like snake monsters very much. And to say I like Ophion's kind of weird because he's, representative of the devil, but I created this creature and it serves my purposes. Therefore, I like him because he's serving my purposes in the book series. That just sounds weird. We're going to start off with a description of Ophion. So, Jaden, I'm going to ask you to tell me what Ophion is and what he looks like. When I say what he is, I mean generally, what is he?
So what he looks like he has like a gorilla-like chest and body, and on his shoulders he has 6 spikes that go around from his shoulders to his back, and he has 6 of them. And for his arms, like they're really long. They have he doesn't have forearms. He has like these big giant paddles with
like paddle hands,
and has like this. He has like really, really big claws, and his neck is like a brachiosaurus, and he has like a king cobra frill with spikes on it, and his head is based off a brachiosaur, and it has a fairly decent sized horn on it.
Where's the horn?
Like on right there.
Yeah. Well, they can't see the picture.
Okay, yeah.
They can't.
Right there's like on top
of his head.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a mix between a brachiosaur. His head is a mix between a brachiosaur and a snake.
And a little bit like, if you look at it, there's kind of a skullish sort of, like kind of like a skull looking aura to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
What does the tail look like?
It is really, really long, and it has rattles on the end of it.
Very good. I think that's a good description. His back legs are a little bit shorter. His back legs are a little shorter, and his forearm and his front limbs are quite a bit longer. Again, lots of inspiration from a brachiosaurus and a gorilla. Real quick, is Ophion covered in hair, or is he scaly / smooth / reptilian?
Scaly and smooth and reptilian.
Yeah, so he's not like hairy at all, like Han.
And
it's funny because even though, like, I don't know which one came first. I think that Ophion came first. inside baseball here, my original idea that I wanted to do was to write a King Kong versus Godzilla novel. But then I thought, okay, there's no way I'm going to get the rights to write a Godzilla novel. And so I said, okay, I need to write my own. So Kong was my original idea for a monster. But then when I thought I need to create my own monster, Ophion was the first thing to come to mind in terms of as I started developing his character. I'll talk a little bit more about that here shortly. But before doing that, Carter, got a big question for you. You ready for the big question? You need to tell me what Ophion's powers are.
He's able to control people's minds. He's able to spit acid. Also, my favorite thing that he can do is he's able to control the weather.
Yeah, he's able to control the weather. So, and by the way, he is gigantic, and that is relevant for that element of it because as I designed him, even though this would probably be totally scientifically inaccurate, my concept of him was he's going to be so big that he affected the atmosphere of the earth and affected weather patterns, and then he'd bring about storms. And that was inspired by ancient mythology. And this is actually one of the things I was going to get to a second ago. As I was drawing inspiration for his character, I was thinking along the lines of probably my favorite Godzilla bad guy, Titanosaurus. And even the coloration was inspired by Titanosaurus. He's red with a yellow underbelly, very similar to Titanosaurus. And I wanted his roar, even though you can't hear him roar, by the way, is supposed to be a sort of cackling sort of sound. And some of the Godzilla bad guys, they have like a cackling sort of roar that they do. So a very inspired character. And I actually derived some of the design from a book that we have, both him and Giganotus Rex for that matter, that was what do you call it? It's one of those, a program book or whatever for the live performance of walking with dinosaurs. So I actually used a Brachiosaurus's face as inspiration, and it helped me in drawing Ophion's face. But again, I very much wanted to have serpentine inspiration as well to go harken back to the serpent in the Garden of Eden. And as Carter said, able to control the weather. He's able to spit. He said acid venom, whatever you're going to say. And he's able to control people's minds, which is a huge element of book number 4. Real quick, Jaden, what do you think about book number 4?
It's my favorite of the 4 books that he's written so far. So it's really, really good.
Book number 4 is something else. It doesn't have as many monsters in it, but Ophion really carries his weight. But also, I think that the human elements, which, by the way, I'm going to do some character profiles on the humans too. I think that's very important to do. And Melissa, I was actually thinking, my wife's right here, by the way. I was thinking about having you help me out with those. She's more of a people, she's not so much the monster person, but she really likes the people story in it and very much appreciates the good versus evil elements of the books, which is very much what Giganotus Rex is all about getting away from all that stupid, everything's gray sort of feeling, and that drawing the line that, yes, there are good guys and there are bad guys. And Ophion is the baddest of the bad guys inside of my books. And the funny thing I found is that there is, even to a degree, some inspiration. So partly the inspiration for Titanosaurus is not just the design, but also the powers, as he has the ability to create whirlwinds with his tail. I thought that was pretty cheesy, but I wanted to update that and say what would be more awesome than that? What would be cooler than that? And actually, tongue-in-cheek, what would make more sense than that? Well, of course that he'd be able to control the weather and be able to command lightning to strike wherever he wants it to and aid him in his battles. So in Giganotus Rex 4, Carter, I'm going to ask you a question, okay? Who all does Ophion fight?
Giganotus Rex, Han, and Ulysses.
Very good. Ulysses will probably be the next monster profile that we do. But just to prep you for that, he is a giant harpy eagle that is, my goodness, a masterpiece of mine when it comes to the. I'm going to include the drawings too, by the way. I want to include the drawings for this episode. I apologize for not doing that with Han because I love Han's drawing. So I'll post that separately. But I would definitely post the actual artwork as well as an AI rendering of it because the AI is doing pretty good. ChatGPT does a pretty good job with creating the monster, making it look realistic. But I'm telling you what, Ulysses drawing, it's something. It's really cool. But I also really like Ophion's picture. I like all of my monsters. I mean, I don't know. I really invested a lot of thought and time into them. And Ophion is one of those ones that is a very different monster. But there's also one more power that we have not mentioned, and that is Ophion's ability to evolve. And that plays into his fights with these different monsters, actually. So, few spoilers here, maybe one spoiler, maybe a few more. So, we mentioned that he fights Giganotus Rex, Han, and Ulysses. Jaden, what was Ophion? Don't you don't have to describe him very thoroughly. Just generally, what did Ophion look like at the beginning of the book, and then what did he look like? Well, you don't have to say what he looked like. What did he look like before he underwent his transformation into his second form?
He just is like a snake with a skull as his head.
Yeah, the Ophion originally was a serpent, just a serpent. Okay, a snake, and he looked like a poisonous snake, very intimidating looking snake. Mm-hmm. And what transformed Ophion from being a snake, albeit a very scary looking snake, into his second form that we just described?
He ate Han.
Yeah, so if you listen to the first monster profile that we did, Han, the giant monkey monster that we described, was eaten by Ophion, and it forced Ophion into a transformation into a bigger, stronger, more menacing creature. Now, again, spoilers, Han can't be killed. And that's part of the reason that I was using for his whole transformation there as well. So you have to read the book for more details on that transformation and everything. But essentially, Ophion is a transforming creature, an evolving creature, and I did that very, very intentionally. Carter, I don't know if you can answer this or not. If not, I bounce it over to Jaden. Why did I give Ophion the ability to evolve? Jaden, why did I give Ophion the ability to evolve?
Because you absolutely hate evolution.
Because I hate evolution.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the theory of evolution, and I believe that it is evil. And so what I've done is I took the character that I felt most represented the devil inside of my series, and I gave him the ability to evolve. And even then, it's still sort of a tongue-in-cheek sort of evolution that he goes through because it's more like stages of development, which I always find funny about the theory of evolution, that when they point to it's funny whenever like we look at monsters or whatever and say Godzilla versus Biollante, they say Biolante's evolving. Well, is it still the same creature? Because it's still the same creature. It's still the same individual, just that it has changed and has what? Developed. We don't say that a baby evolves into an adult.
Yeah.
They develop into an adult. And that's essentially what Ophion's going through. He has these stages that are pre-programmed into him that he's able to do, and as he consumes things, that he's able to transform. In fact, man, we lied to people a minute ago. No, that's right. No, we got it right. We got it right with book number 4. With book number 4, he starts off as the giant serpent monster. But in book number 3, which is where the serpent Ophion starts off, he's a lot smaller. And as he eats, he grows and grows and grows. So we'll talk about that more when we get into Form 1 of Ophion in another character profile. So the Ophion, like I said, he's supposed to be my original enemy for Giganotus Rex, and even then, he's still the nemesis of Giganotus Rex and has an epic battle with him at the end of book 4. And I'll leave you to read that to find out exactly what happens at the conclusion of it. I was surprised that Jaden and Carter enjoyed that one so much because it's an intense book, and it has somewhat serious tones to it. It has some levity in it as well. Jaden, would you say that it's being your favorite of them? How would you describe the tone of book number 4?
There is parts that's a lot more serious than the rest of the series, but it probably has the most lighthearted moments in it too.
Yeah, kind of a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B, and I had to think about that because, just because I wrote it doesn't mean I read it all the time. So I rely on these guys sometimes to remind me what's inside of my books, but it's been really fun recording, though, because I get to remember a lot of things that I wrote and enjoy those moments that I really enjoyed writing quite a bit. Ophion being the nemesis of Giganotus Rex, I do have to say that even though the book ends a certain way, that it's one of those things where if you understand that he is Giganotus Rex's enemy, you understand that he's not going to be gone forever. Having said that, I have an announcement. I maybe should have announced at the beginning of this episode. I have officially published Giganotus Rex 5, The Return of Giganotus Rex.
Wait, it's out?
It's out.
Whoa, I actually didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that at all. That is a surprise. That's news. I had no idea.
That's earth-shattering news.
Yes.
The Return of Giganotus Rex has been released and is available for purchase on Amazon and ebook, if I'm not mistaken. Amazon ebook, is that what it's called? Whatever their electronic version's called. Like I don't pay a whole lot of attention to those details. I just know that I have a physical copy of it and that there's an ebook copy of it, which, by the way, means 2 things. One, I'm eventually going to get around to recording my own version of it with sound effects and all the fun things you are enjoying about the Wrath of Giganotus Rex. And now, for those who are paid members on Patreon, you're getting with Giganotus Rex, the Battle of Midland. And it also means that one day it will probably get an official audiobook as well, because that's one of the things I noticed. You actually have to publish it on ebook in order to have access to even create an audiobook version of the book. I said book a lot right there. That was a lot of books.
Yeah.
So I'm looking very forward to that. I would like to encourage you to go on to Patreon. Check out The Wrath of Giganotus Rex. It is a free book. All 16 chapters in their glory with sound effects and music. It is a beautiful book. And then on top of that, if you like it, I would encourage you, go on to purchase the first few episodes of Giganotus Rex, The Battle of Midland. Now, Ophion is not in the Battle of Midland. That's still Han. But hang tight. We will get to Ophion in due time and some other really cool monsters. And I tell you what, the funny thing is, the main monsters, they aren't even necessarily my very, very favorite monsters. There's a few side monsters that I love that we're going to do profiles on. And I can't wait to share those guys with you. So, Jaden, would you like to say goodbye?
Goodbye, everybody.
Carter, would you like to say goodbye?
Bye.
I'd like to thank you all for joining us for this monster profile on the Giganotus Rex podcast. Make sure to check out the Giganotus Rex books. You can find those on Amazon.com. If you have problems finding links for those, go to WilliamHSeng.com. You can find the links on there. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to this podcast, and leave a comment below. Let me know that you are there. I very much enjoyed recording today's podcast and letting you know about Giganotus Rex's nemesis, Ophion. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and good night.